Marcus Chen stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse apartment, watching the city lights flicker below. At 28, he had everything most people dreamed of: luxury cars, designer clothes, and access to exclusive clubs. Yet something crucial was missing. As the only child of tech mogul David Chen and renowned architect Linda Chen, Marcus had grown up in Singapore's most privileged circles. His father's software empire had revolutionized digital security, making the Chen family one of the wealthiest in Southeast Asia. His mother's architectural firm had designed iconic buildings across 3 continents. But wealth came with its own prison bars. "Marcus, darling, did you think about what I said?" His mother's voice interrupted his thoughts as she entered the living room, carrying a photo. "Rebecca Tan is perfect for you. Her father owns half the real estate in the city, and she studied at Oxford." Marcus turned from the window, his jaw tightening. "Mom, I don't want to meet another woman chosen for her family's bank account." Linda sighed, setting down the photo. "You're being unreasonable. These connections matter in our world." "That's exactly the problem," Marcus said quietly. "Your world. I don't know if it's mine anymore." Over the past year, Marcus had watched his relationships crumble under the weight of expectations. Women dated him for his family name, friends stayed close for business opportunities, and every interaction felt transactional. He couldn't remember the last time someone had asked about his dreams rather than his portfolio. The final straw had come last week when Sarah, the woman his father introduced him to at a charity gala, spent their entire dinner discussing merger opportunities between their families. She hadn't asked a single question about him as a person. That night, Marcus made a decision. He found his parents in his father's study, surrounded by mahogany shelves filled with business books and awards. "I need to talk to you both," Marcus began, his heart pounding. "I'm leaving Singapore for a while." David looked up from his laptop, removing his reading glasses. "Leaving? What are you talking about?" "I need time away from all of this," Marcus gestured around the opulent room. "Away from people who only see my last name. I want to find out who I am when nobody knows about the Chen family fortune." Linda stood up quickly. "Marcus, you're a young man. The world can be harsh. You've never lived without comfort or security. This is foolish." "That's exactly why I need to do it," Marcus said firmly. "I want to experience real life. I want to meet someone who loves me for who I am, not what I have." His father leaned back in his chair, studying his son with thoughtful eyes. Unlike his wife, David remained calm. He had built his empire from modest beginnings and understood his son's restlessness. "Where would you go?" David asked. "There's a coastal town in Malaysia called Teluk Seri. It's small, quiet, and nobody there would know me. I could get a regular job, live simply, and just be normal for once." "James, you can't be considering this," Linda protested. "He's our only son. What if something happens? How will he manage without money?" David interrupted gently. "Linda, remember where I came from. I worked in a convenience store while building my first software. Maybe Marcus needs to find his own path." Marcus looked at his father gratefully. "I'm not asking for your approval, but I would like your understanding. If I can't find what I'm looking for, if I can't find genuine love, I'll come back. I'll meet Rebecca Tan or whoever else you want me to meet." David stood and placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "How long do you need?" 6 months. Maybe less if things don't work out." Linda shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "This is dangerous, Marcus. You don't know how to live without help. What about security? What about—" "I'll be careful, Mom," Marcus said softly, embracing her. "I promise I'll stay in touch. But I need to do this. I need to know if real love exists, the kind that isn't based on wealth or status." After a long pause, David nodded. "If this is what you need, son, then you have my support. But stay safe. And remember, you can always come home." Linda wiped her eyes, finally accepting the inevitable. Promise me you'll call regularly. And please, be careful out there. I will, Mom. I promise. The next morning, Marcus packed a simple backpack with basic clothes, jeans, t-shirts, nothing designer. He left behind his expensive watches, his luxury wardrobe, and his sports car. He withdrew enough cash to last a few months if he was careful, but not enough to draw attention. At the bus terminal, he bought a ticket to Teluk under just his first name. As the bus pulled away from Singapore's glittering skyline, Marcus felt both terrified and exhilarated. For the first time in his life, he was just Marcus, not Marcus Chen, heir to billions. The 5-hour journey took him along the Malaysian coast, through small towns and fishing villages. As the landscape changed from skyscrapers to palm trees, Marcus felt the weight on his shoulders begin to lighten. Teluk Seri was everything he'd hoped for, a sleepy coastal town with a bustling fish market, modest shops, and friendly locals. Nobody looked at him twice as he walked down the main street carrying his backpack. He was invisible, anonymous, and it felt wonderful. He found a small room to rent above a bookshop, managed by an elderly woman named Mrs. Lim. The room was basic: a bed, a small table, a fan, and a window overlooking the street. No marble floors, no designer furniture, no staff waiting on him. First time in Teluk Seri? Mrs. Lim asked as she handed him the key. Yes, ma'am. I'm looking for work. Do you know anyone hiring? She thought for a moment. Try the Blue Pearl Cafe down by the harbor. I heard they need a barista. The owner, Mr. Hossan, is a good man. That afternoon, Marcus walked into the Blue Pearl Cafe, a cozy establishment with wooden tables, local art on the walls, and the rich aroma of coffee beans. Mr. Hossan, a kind man in his 50s, looked him over with gentle eyes. Ever worked in a cafe before? He asked. Marcus shook his head honestly. No, sir. But I'm a fast learner and I'll work hard. Mr. Hossan smiled. I like your attitude. Can you start tomorrow? The work is tough, long hours on your feet, demanding customers, minimum wage. That's perfect, Marcus said, meaning it. Thank you for the opportunity. As Marcus left the cafe, the sun was setting over Teluk Seri's harbor, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. For the first time in years, he felt hopeful. He had no idea what the future held, but he was ready to find out. His journey to discover true love, and himself, had just begun. Don't miss where Marcus begins his new life and meets someone unexpected. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to follow Marcus's journey to finding genuine love. Will he discover what he's looking for in this small coastal town? Find out in the next. Marcus's first week at the Blue Pearl Cafe was harder than anything he'd ever experienced. His feet ached from standing for 10-hour shifts, his hands grew rough from washing dishes, and he learned that making the perfect espresso required more skill than he'd imagined. But despite the exhaustion, Marcus felt alive in a way he never had before. The cafe's regular customers were fishermen, shop owners, teachers, and students, ordinary people living ordinary lives. They treated Marcus like anyone else, sometimes impatient when their orders took too long, sometimes grateful for a friendly smile. Nobody asked about his family or his connections. He was just Marcus, the new barista who was still learning the ropes. You're getting better, Mr. Hossan said one afternoon, watching Marcus prepare a cappuccino. Last week you couldn't even foam milk properly. Now look at you. Marcus grinned, feeling genuine pride in his progress. Thank you, sir. I'm trying my best. Among the regular customers was a woman named Maya who came in every morning before work. She was a marketing coordinator at a local resort, always dressed professionally but modestly, with a warm smile and kind eyes. Over the weeks, they developed an easy rapport. Good morning, Marcus, Maya said one Thursday, leaning against the counter. The usual. One iced latte with an extra shot, coming right up, Marcus replied, already reaching for a cup. As he prepared her drink, Maya watched him with interest. You're not from around here, are you? Your accent is different. Marcus chose his words carefully. I'm from Singapore. Needed a change of scenery, so I came here to start fresh. Brave of you, Maya said thoughtfully. Most people dream of moving to the big city, not away from it. Sometimes the big city isn't all it's cracked up to be, Marcus said, handing her the coffee. Maya smiled, her eyes lingering on him for a moment longer than usual. Well, I think it's admirable. Starting over takes courage. Over the next few weeks, Maya's morning visits became the highlight of Marcus's day. She would stay for a few extra minutes, chatting about the town, sharing stories from her work, and asking about his life. Marcus found himself opening up to her, though he was careful not to reveal too much about his background. One evening after Marcus's shift, Maya appeared at the cafe just as he was leaving. Hey, she said, slightly nervous. I know this might be forward, but would you like to have dinner with me sometime? There's a great seafood place by the pier. Marcus's heart leaped. This was what he'd been hoping for, a genuine connection with someone who knew nothing about his wealth. I'd love that, he said, smiling broadly. Their first date was perfect. They sat at a simple outdoor restaurant, eating grilled fish and talking for hours. Maya told him about growing up in Telexeri, her dreams of eventually starting her own marketing agency, and her close relationship with her family. Marcus shared edited versions of his life, painting himself as someone who'd worked odd jobs in Singapore before deciding to try something new. I really like you, Marcus, Maya said as they walked along the beach after dinner. You're different from the guys around here. There's something genuine about you. Marcus took her hand, his heart full. I like you too, Maya. A lot. As weeks turned into a month, their relationship deepened. They went on simple dates, beach walks, movie nights at the local cinema, coffee at small shops. Marcus felt himself falling for Maya, believing he'd finally found the authentic love he'd been searching for. But then small things began to bother him. It started with Maya asking to borrow money. Hey Marcus, I'm a bit short this month. Could you lend me 200 ringgit? My laptop broke and I need to get it fixed for work. Marcus didn't hesitate. He had savings from his cafe wages, and helping his girlfriend seemed natural. Of course. Don't worry about paying me back right away. But then it happened again. And again. Each time, Maya had a reasonable explanation. An unexpected bill, a family emergency, a delayed paycheck. The amounts were small, but they added up quickly. Marcus found himself giving her money almost weekly. Then Maya started making comments about his job. You're so smart, Marcus. Why are you wasting your time making coffee? You could do so much more with your life. Don't you want to aim higher? I like what I do, Marcus said, feeling defensive. There's nothing wrong with honest work. Maya sighed. I know, but you're a man. Don't you think you should have bigger ambitions? Better opportunities? The comments bothered Marcus, but he tried to ignore them. Maybe she just wanted him to succeed. Maybe she cared about his future. But then came the afternoon that shattered everything. Marcus had finished his shift early and decided to surprise Maya at her office. As he approached the resort where she worked, he heard her voice coming from around the corner of the building. She was on her phone, laughing. Girl, you won't believe how easy this is, Maya was saying. I followed him here from Singapore. Can you imagine? The heir to the Chan technology empire, pretending to be poor. These rich kids and their weird fantasies. Marcus froze, his blood running cold. Yeah, his dad's David Chen, the billionaire. I found out where he went after he left Singapore. Some housekeeper at his building mentioned it. He's playing at being normal, but I'm working my angle. He's already giving me money. Won't be long before I convince him to marry me and take me back to Singapore. Then I'll be set for life, the billionaire's wife. She laughed again, cruel and calculating. By then, everyone will see me as the woman who stood by him when he had nothing. It's perfect. Marcus felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Every moment they'd shared, every conversation, every kiss, It was all a lie. Maya had known who he was from the beginning. She'd followed him to Telexeri specifically to manipulate him. He stepped around the corner, his voice cold and steady. So this was your plan all along. Maya spun around, her face going pale. Marcus, wait. I heard everything, he said, his heart breaking. You knew who I was. You followed me here just to use me. Maya opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The guilt on her face told him everything he needed to know. I trusted you, Marcus said quietly, his voice shaking with emotion. I thought you cared about me, about Marcus, not about the Chen name or the money. Marcus, please, let me explain. But he was already walking away. He couldn't bear to hear any more lies. The woman he'd fallen for, the relationship he'd believed was real, it had all been a calculated deception. That night, Marcus sat alone in his small room above the bookshop, staring at the ceiling. The pain of Maya's betrayal cut deep, but it also brought clarity. If she'd found him here, others could too. Telexeri wasn't far enough from Singapore. He needed to go somewhere more remote, somewhere truly off the map. He called his parents, his voice hollow. Mom, I need more time. I'm leaving Telexeri. Ethan, darling, what happened? Linda's voice was full of concern. Are you all right? I'm fine. I need to go somewhere quieter. Please don't worry about me. I'll call you when I'm settled, but maybe not as often. I need to figure things out on my own. David's voice came through, calm but concerned. Son, you don't have to do this alone. We can. I'll be okay, Dad, Marcus interrupted gently. I promise. I just need more time to find what I'm looking for. After ending the call, Marcus began packing his few belongings. He would leave Telexeri behind, along with the painful memories of Maya's betrayal. This time, he would go somewhere truly remote, a place where nobody would think to look for the heir to a tech empire. He didn't know where his journey would take him next, but one thing was certain. He would never let anyone take advantage of him again. The next time he opened his heart, it would be to someone truly genuine, or no one at all. As dawn broke over Telexeri, Marcus boarded a bus heading north into rural Thailand. His search for authentic love continued, but now he was wiser, more cautious, and more determined than ever to find the real thing. After leaving Telexeri, Marcus traveled deeper into rural Thailand, seeking a place where nobody would recognize him or connect him to his family's wealth. He found it in a small village called Ban Suk, nestled in the mountains about 3 hours from Chiang Mai. Ban Suk was worlds away from Singapore's glittering skyline. Dirt roads connected modest wooden houses, rice fields stretched across the valley, and the biggest excitement was the weekly market. It was perfect, quiet, remote, and far from anyone who might know the Chen family. Marcus rented a tiny room from an elderly widow, Mrs. Som Chai, who asked no questions beyond whether he could pay the modest rent. The room had a thin mattress, a small fan, and a window overlooking the village square. It was simple, but Marcus had grown to appreciate simplicity. After settling in, Marcus needed work. His savings were running low, and he wanted to earn his way honestly. As he walked through the village one afternoon, he noticed a small grocery store with a handwritten sign in the window, "Staff needed." The store was owned by Mr. Prorit, a friendly middle-aged man with a ready smile. When Marcus inquired about the job, Mr. Prorit asked a few basic questions about his experience. "I worked at a cafe in Malaysia," Marcus explained, sticking to his story. "I finished school and have been doing various jobs since then. I'm hard-working and reliable." Mr. Prorit seemed satisfied. "You can start tomorrow. It's simple work, stocking shelves, helping customers, keeping things tidy. The pay isn't much, but it's honest work." "That's exactly what I'm looking for," Marcus said gratefully. The next day, Marcus began his new job at the grocery store. That's where he met Kevin. Kevin was the other employee at the store, a cheerful 23-year-old with big dreams and an infectious laugh. He welcomed Marcus immediately, and they quickly became friends as they worked side by side. So, what's your story? Kevin asked one morning as they restocked rice bags. What brings you to Ban Suk? Marcus gave his practiced response. I'm an orphan. Finished school and have been moving around, trying different jobs. Heard this village was peaceful, so I thought I'd give it a try. Kevin nodded sympathetically. Sorry about your family, brother. I stay with my uncle and aunt here. They're good people, but honestly, this village is too small for my dreams. What do you mean? Marcus asked. Kevin's eyes lit up with ambition. I want more from life, you know? I want to move to Bangkok, drive a nice car, live in a real apartment. Maybe even meet a rich woman who can help me get there. He laughed, but Marcus could tell he was serious. Life here is hard, Kevin continued. Hustling every day for small money. If I could find a wealthy woman to marry, I wouldn't hesitate. That would be my ticket out. Marcus understood Kevin's dreams, though he himself was running away from that exact lifestyle. He didn't judge his friend. Poverty was difficult, and Kevin's ambitions were natural. But Marcus knew from experience that chasing wealth rarely led to happiness. The days at the grocery store passed peacefully. Marcus enjoyed the simple rhythm of village life and felt himself healing from Maya's betrayal. He had almost forgotten what it felt like to be pursued for his money rather than valued for himself. Then she walked into the store. Her name was Natalie, and she was the wealthiest person in Ban Suk. She had made her fortune importing goods from China, electronics, clothing, household items, and selling them throughout the region. By village standards, Natalie was rich. She owned the largest house in Ban Suk, a sprawling two-story structure that stood out among the modest village homes. Natalie was confident and attractive, with an air of authority that commanded attention. When she entered the grocery store that afternoon to buy supplies, her presence filled the room. Hello, she said, her voice smooth as she approached the counter where Marcus was working. I haven't seen you before. Are you new to the village? Marcus looked up and gave a polite smile. Yes, ma'am. I've only been here a few weeks. Welcome to Ban Suk, Natalie said, her eyes studying him with interest. It's nice to have a fresh face around. Marcus thanked her politely, rang up her purchases, and thought nothing more of the interaction. After Maya's betrayal, he had built walls around his heart. He wasn't interested in getting involved with anyone, especially not so soon. But over the following days, Natalie began visiting the grocery store more frequently. She would find reasons to chat with Marcus, asking about his day, complimenting his work, and making casual conversation. At first, Marcus brushed it off as friendliness, but Kevin noticed immediately. Brother, do you see what's happening? Kevin whispered one afternoon after Natalie left. She's interested in you. Marcus shook his head. She's just being friendly. Kevin looked at him like he was crazy. Friendly? Marcus, she comes here 3 times a day now, and she only talks to you. That woman likes you. Marcus felt uncomfortable with the attention. He wasn't ready for another relationship, and something about Natalie's interest reminded him too much of Maya's calculated pursuit. But Kevin's mood began to change. Marcus noticed his friend becoming quieter, more withdrawn. One evening, as they closed the store, Kevin finally spoke up. I need to tell you something, Kevin said, his voice tight. I've had my eye on Natalie for a long time. Marcus stopped counting the register and looked at his friend. What do you mean? I've been trying to work up the courage to approach her for months, Kevin admitted. She's my chance to get out of this village, to have a better life. But now she's interested in you instead. Marcus could see the jealousy and disappointment in Kevin's eyes. Kevin, I'm not interested in her. I promise. I'm not looking for a relationship right now. You say that, but what if she keeps pursuing you? Kevin asked, frustration creeping into his voice. What if she asks you out? Then I'll say no, Marcus said firmly. I don't want to get involved with anyone. I'm just focused on my job and living a simple life. Kevin seemed somewhat reassured, but Marcus could tell the tension between them had shifted. His friend's jealousy was simmering just beneath the surface, and it made Marcus uneasy. As the weeks passed, Natalie continued to show interest in Marcus, but he kept his distance. He remained polite but never encouraged her advances. He could sense that pursuing a relationship with Natalie would only complicate things with Kevin and disturb the peace he'd found in Ban Suk. Then one afternoon, everything changed. It was market day in the village, and the streets were crowded with vendors, shoppers, and children playing. Marcus had just finished his shift and was walking home when he heard a commotion ahead. A group of children were playing football in the street, and the ball had gotten away from them. It was rolling directly toward a woman who had just stepped off the sidewalk, earbuds in, completely unaware of her surroundings. Without thinking, Marcus sprinted forward. He reached the woman just as a motorcycle swerved to avoid the ball, pulling her back to safety. In his rush, he caught her firmly, steadying her against his chest. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The woman looked up at him, and Marcus found himself staring into the most beautiful eyes he'd ever seen. She was stunning, tall, with warm brown skin and a face that radiated kindness and intelligence. "Are you all right?" Marcus asked, his heart pounding, not from the sprint, but from the way she was looking at him. The woman nodded slowly, still catching her breath. "I think so. Thank you. I wasn't paying attention." "It's okay," Marcus said softly, suddenly aware that his arms were still around her. He released her gently, stepping back. "The kids and their football can be unpredictable." She smiled, and it was like sunshine breaking through clouds. "I'm Lisa, by the way." "Marcus," he replied, shaking her hand and feeling an electric connection he'd never experienced before. They stood there for a moment, neither seeming to want to leave, until Lisa finally glanced at her watch. "I should get back to work. I'm an accountant at the construction site just outside the village. They're probably wondering where I am." "It was nice meeting you, Lisa," Marcus said, meaning it more than she could know. "You too, Marcus. And thank you again for saving me from that motorcycle." As she walked away, Marcus stood frozen, his heart racing. There was something different about Lisa, something genuine and warm that made him want to know more about her. Over the next few weeks, Marcus and Lisa kept running into each other. Whether by chance or fate, they seemed to cross paths at the market, at the small restaurant near the construction site, and during evening walks through the village. They fell into easy conversation, talking about everything and nothing. Lisa told him about her work, her love for numbers and problem-solving, and her dreams of eventually starting her own accounting firm. Marcus shared carefully edited stories about his life, painting himself as someone trying to find his place in the world. With Lisa, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt with Maya: true peace. There was no pressure, no manipulation, just genuine connection. She never asked about his background or pushed him for more than he was willing to share. She seemed content just to spend time with him, talking and laughing. Marcus found himself thinking about Lisa constantly. When he wasn't with her, he was looking forward to the next time they would meet. The hurt from Maya's betrayal began to fade, replaced by something warmer and more hopeful. But while Marcus was falling for Lisa, Natalie's jealousy was growing. She had watched Marcus and Lisa together, and it infuriated her. In her mind, she was the obvious choice: wealthy, established, and able to offer Marcus a comfortable life. Why would he choose a simple accountant over her? Determined to win Marcus over, Natalie decided she needed help. She approached Kevin one afternoon after his shift at the grocery store. "Kevin, we need to talk," Natalie said, pulling him aside. Kevin's heart raced. Was this finally his chance with Natalie? "What can I do for you?" "It's about Marcus," Natalie said, frustration clear in her voice. "He's spending too much time with that construction site accountant. I need you to convince him that I'm the better choice. I have everything: money, a big house, status in the village. He needs to see that." Kevin felt his hope crumble. Natalie wasn't interested in him. She just wanted to use him to get to Marcus. Despite the jealousy and disappointment burning in his chest, he nodded. I'll talk to him. That evening, Kevin approached Marcus as they cleaned up the store. Marcus, can we talk? Of course, Marcus said, sensing the serious tone. What's on your mind? Kevin hesitated, then plunged ahead. It's about Natalie. You know she's interested in you, right? Marcus sighed. Kevin, I already told you. Just hear me out, Kevin interrupted. Natalie has everything a man could want. A big house, money, security. Most men in this village would kill for a chance with her. She could give you a life where you'd never have to worry about anything. Marcus studied his friend carefully. And what about Lisa? Lisa? Kevin scoffed. She's just a regular accountant, Marcus. She has nothing to offer. With Natalie, you wouldn't even have to be the provider. She could take care of everything. Marcus felt a flash of anger. I don't care about money, Kevin. I care about how I feel when I'm with someone. And when I'm with Lisa, I feel something real. Kevin let out a bitter laugh. So you'd rather be with a broke woman you'd have to support? You could have Natalie, who owns the biggest house in the village, and instead you're falling for someone who barely makes enough to get by. Yes, Marcus said firmly. I would rather be with Lisa. She makes me happy, Kevin. And I believe it's my responsibility as a man to take care of the woman I care about. So if the village boys want Natalie, they can have her. Kevin's face flushed with anger and jealousy. Without another word, he turned and stormed out of the store, leaving Marcus standing alone. Marcus knew he had hurt his friend's feelings, but he couldn't lie about his heart. The truth was simple. Lisa had captured his attention in a way no one else ever had, and he wasn't going to let anyone, not Natalie, not Kevin, not anyone, tell him that was wrong. As he walked home that evening, Marcus's thoughts were filled with Lisa. He didn't know where their connection would lead, but for the first time since Maya's betrayal, he felt ready to open his heart again. While Marcus's relationship with Lisa deepened, there were secrets neither of them knew about each other. Secrets that would soon change everything. Lisa sat in her modest hotel room, the best accommodation Ban Suk had to offer. By city standards, it was simple, but it was comfortable enough for her temporary stay. She leaned back against the headboard, a smile playing on her lips as she thought about Marcus. She hadn't expected to meet someone like him when she came to this remote village. The project was supposed to be a quick escape from the pressures of city life, a chance to get away from her parents' constant matchmaking attempts. But Marcus had changed everything. What Marcus didn't know was that Lisa wasn't just an accountant at the construction site. She was actually Rachel Morgan, CEO and founder of Morgan Tech Solutions, one of the fastest-growing technology companies in Asia. Her innovations in cloud computing and cybersecurity had made her a billionaire by age 26. Rachel had grown up in Hong Kong, the daughter of prominent business moguls. Like Marcus, she'd built her own empire, but the success came with relentless pressure from her family to marry appropriately. Most recently, her parents had been pushing her to meet the son of David Chen, the renowned tech mogul from Singapore. Rachel had resisted. She didn't believe in arranged marriages or marrying for business alliances. She wanted something real, something genuine. When the contract to install fiber optic infrastructure in rural Thailand had come up, Rachel saw her opportunity to escape, if only temporarily. Her team could have handled the project without her, but she decided to go herself, posing as a simple accountant named Lisa. For a few weeks, she could be normal, anonymous, free from the weight of her company and her family's expectations. Then she'd met Marcus. From the moment he'd pulled her to safety in the village square, she'd been captivated. There was something authentic about him, a warmth and sincerity that was rare among the people she usually met. He didn't carry himself with the arrogance of the wealthy men she knew. He seemed genuinely humble, kind, and content with his simple life. Rachel had quickly instructed her team to maintain her cover story. She wanted Marcus to like her for who she was, not for her wealth or status. For the first time in years, she felt free to just be herself, or at least, the version of herself that wasn't defined by billions of dollars and business deals. She laughed softly to herself. It was ironic, really. She'd come to Ban Suk to escape her family's demands to meet some wealthy heir, and here she was, falling for a grocery store worker. But that's what made it feel so real. Marcus liked her for her, not for her money. As she drifted off to sleep that night, Rachel's last thought was of Marcus's smile. Meanwhile, Marcus's peaceful existence was about to be disrupted. Natalie had been rejected too many times. She'd watched Marcus choose Lisa over her, despite everything she had to offer. Her pride was wounded, and she was determined to make one final attempt. That evening, she waited outside the grocery store until Marcus finished his shift. "Marcus," she called out, her voice soft and inviting. "Could you help me carry some things to my house? It's not far." Marcus hesitated, then nodded politely. "Sure, no problem." He followed Natalie through the village streets to her large house. Inside, the home smelled of jasmine and expensive furniture polish. It was the nicest house Marcus had seen since leaving Singapore. "Please sit," Natalie said, gesturing to her sofa. "I made some snacks. You work so hard, let me take care of you for once." Marcus remained standing. "That's kind of you, Natalie, but I should get going." Natalie moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You don't always have to be so serious, Marcus. Don't you ever get lonely here?" "I stay busy," Marcus replied, uncomfortable with her proximity. "That helps. You don't have to pretend with me," Natalie said, reaching up to touch his shoulder. "I notice how tired you look sometimes. You never let anyone close. But you could let me care for you." Marcus gently removed her hand. "Natalie, you're a good person, but I don't want to give you the wrong idea." Her eyes flashed with hurt and anger. "So it's true. It's her, isn't it? That poor accountant. What does she have that I don't? I could give you everything. Comfort, security, a beautiful home. What can she offer you?" "Natalie," Marcus said softly but firmly, "please don't do this. You deserve someone who truly wants to be with you. That someone isn't me. Let's keep this respectful." Her composure cracked. "I could give you everything, Marcus," she whispered, tears forming. "Why isn't that enough?" "Because I don't want comfort built on confusion," Marcus replied gently. "You deserve someone who chooses you because they truly want to be with you, not because of what you can provide." Natalie turned away, blinking rapidly. "Then go," she said coldly. "Before I say something I'll regret." Marcus paused at the door. "Thank you for the offer, Natalie. I hope you find what you're looking for." As the door closed behind him, Natalie sank into her chair, angry tears streaming down her face. She had offered everything, and it still wasn't enough. Over the next few weeks, Marcus and Lisa's relationship blossomed. They spent every free moment together, walking through rice fields at sunset, sharing meals at the village's small restaurant, and talking about their dreams and fears. One evening, as they sat by a stream outside the village, watching the stars emerge, Marcus felt something shift inside him. He looked at Lisa, saw the way the moonlight reflected in her eyes, and knew he was falling in love. "I'm really glad we met," he said softly. Lisa turned to him, her eyes warm. "So am I, Marcus. I never expected to find someone like you here." There was a moment of comfortable silence, the kind that only exists between people who truly understand each other. Marcus leaned in slightly, and Lisa closed the distance between them. Their lips met in a soft, gentle kiss that seemed to stop time. When they pulled apart, both were smiling, their foreheads resting together. "Lisa," Marcus whispered, his heart full. "Marcus," she replied, her hand finding his. Neither of them said anything more. They didn't need to. The kiss had said everything. But their happiness was about to be tested. Kevin, consumed by jealousy and disappointment, finally made his move with Natalie. He arrived at her house one afternoon, determined to confess his feelings. "Natalie, I need to talk to you," he said when she opened the door. She let him in, her expression weary. "What is it, Kevin?" "I've been waiting for you to notice me," Kevin said, the words tumbling out. I've admired you for so long. But you've been chasing after Marcus, even though it's clear he's not interested. Natalie sighed, running a hand through her hair. And you think I should choose you instead? Why not? Kevin asked desperately. I'm from this village, just like you. I understand your world. We could build something together. Before Natalie could respond, there was a knock at the door. She opened it to find Tom, a quiet man from the village who rarely spoke up, standing there with a distressed expression. Natalie, we need to talk, Tom said, his voice trembling. Now. Kevin watched as Natalie's face went pale. Not now, Tom. Yes, now, Tom insisted, his voice rising. You need to pay me back what you owe. You borrowed a huge sum of money from me, promising you'd pay it back with interest. You even slept with me to get it. And now you're trying to avoid me. Kevin felt his world tilt. What is he talking about? Natalie looked cornered, her confidence crumbling. It's not what you think. You borrowed money from multiple people in this village, Tom continued, anger overcoming his usual shyness. You act rich, but you're drowning in debt. And you manipulated me, used me, and now you won't even return my calls. Kevin stared at Natalie in disbelief. The woman he'd admired, the woman he thought represented success and stability, was a fraud. She wasn't the wealthy, independent woman she pretended to be. She was desperate and manipulative. You're unbelievable, Kevin said, disgusted. I thought you were different, but you're just using people. Natalie didn't even try to defend herself. She knew the truth was out. Kevin stormed out of the house, his heart broken and his dreams shattered. The woman he'd wanted so desperately wasn't worth wanting at all. Meanwhile, Lisa knew her time in Ban Suk was coming to an end. The infrastructure project was nearly complete, and soon she would have to return to Hong Kong and her real life as Rachel Morgan's CEO. The thought of leaving Marcus behind broke her heart, but she couldn't keep up the pretense forever. She needed to tell him at least part of the truth. One evening, as they walked together, Lisa took Marcus's hand and stopped. I need to talk to you about something important. Marcus looked at her, concern crossing his face. What's wrong? I have to leave the village soon, Lisa said, her voice heavy with emotion. There's a job opportunity in the city, a big one. I can't pass it up. Marcus felt his heart sink. For how long? I don't know, Lisa admitted honestly. It could be permanent. Marcus looked down, feeling the familiar ache of loss. He'd finally found someone genuine, someone who made him happy, and now she was leaving. But you don't have to stay here, Lisa continued quickly. Come with me, Marcus. There's nothing keeping you in this village. You could have a better life in the city. We could start fresh together. Marcus looked up at her, surprised. You want me to come with you? Yes, Lisa said, her eyes sincere. I don't want to leave you behind. You've become so important to me. Please, think about it. Marcus's mind raced. The city Lisa was talking about. Was it Hong Kong? Bangkok? Singapore? If it was Singapore, he'd be returning to the very place he'd run from. But could he let Lisa go? Could he pass up the chance to be with the woman who'd made him believe in love again? I'll think about it, Marcus said softly. I need some time. Lisa nodded, squeezing his hand. Take all the time you need. Just know that whatever you decide, I care about you deeply. As they walked back to the village in comfortable silence, both of them carried secrets they weren't ready to reveal. Neither knew that their worlds were about to collide in ways they never could have imagined. Marcus had made his decision. Despite his reservations about returning to city life, he couldn't imagine his future without Lisa. Love, he realized, was worth taking risks for. He would go with her to the city, wherever that might be. But before he could tell Lisa his decision, everything changed. It happened on a busy afternoon in the village. Marcus had just finished his shift at the grocery store and was walking to meet Lisa when he noticed a commotion near the construction site. Workers were loading equipment onto large trucks, packing up tools and materials. Confused, Marcus approached one of the workers. "What's going on? Why are you packing everything up?" The worker glanced at him, then nodded toward Lisa, who was overseeing the operation with a tablet in hand, giving instructions to the crew. "We're finishing up. The project's complete. Miss Morgan is wrapping things up today." Marcus's heart stopped. "Miss Morgan?" "Yeah, Rachel Morgan," another worker chimed in, looking at Marcus curiously. "You didn't know? She's the CEO of Morgan Tech Solutions. She's been running this whole operation. Pretty impressive that someone that important would come out here personally, right?" The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Rachel Morgan. Lisa was Rachel Morgan, the tech billionaire. The woman his parents had been trying to get him to meet. The woman he'd been running from. His mind reeled as the pieces fell into place. Her confidence around the construction crew, the way she carried herself, the occasional slip when she talked about business, it all made sense now. Lisa had been hiding her identity just as he had been hiding his. Marcus stood frozen as Lisa, Rachel, walked toward him. She must have seen the recognition in his eyes because her expression shifted from professional focus to concern. "Marcus, let me explain," she said quickly, reaching for his hand. He took a step back, his emotions swirling. "You're Rachel Morgan, the tech billionaire." Rachel nodded, her face filled with regret. "Yes. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted to, but you wanted to see if I was real first," Marcus said, his voice hollow. "You wanted to know if I loved you for you, not for your money." "Yes," Rachel admitted. "I know it sounds hypocritical, but—" "It's not hypocritical," Marcus interrupted quietly. "Because I did the same thing." Rachel's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Marcus took a deep breath. It was time for the truth. "My name isn't just Marcus. It's Marcus Chen. My father is David Chen, founder of Chen Technology. I came here for the same reason you did, to escape my family's expectations and find someone who could love me for who I am, not for my family's wealth." Rachel's mouth fell open in shock. You're Marcus Chen? The son my parents have been trying to get me to meet." "Yes," Marcus said, a bitter laugh escaping. "We've been running from the same arranged marriage, not knowing we were running toward each other." For a long moment, they both stood in stunned silence, processing the irony of their situation. Then, slowly, Rachel began to smile. And then to laugh. Marcus joined her, and soon they were both laughing at the absurdity of it all. "We're both idiots," Rachel said, wiping tears from her eyes. "Complete idiots," Marcus agreed, pulling her into his arms. "I was so afraid of what you'd think when you found out who I really was. And I was terrified you'd think I'd been manipulating you like some gold digger," Rachel said, resting her head against his chest. "I could never think that," Marcus said softly. "You gave me exactly what I was looking for. Genuine love. You saw me as Marcus the grocery store worker, and you loved me anyway. And you saw me as Lisa the accountant, and you loved me," Rachel replied, looking up at him. "That's what matters, isn't it?" Marcus nodded, then leaned down and kissed her gently. This kiss was different from their first. It was deeper, more meaningful, because now there were no more secrets between them. "So what do we do now?" Rachel asked when they pulled apart. "Now we go back to the city together," Marcus said firmly. "No more hiding, no more pretending. We face our families and tell them we've made our choice." Rachel smiled. "Together." "Together," Marcus confirmed. But they both knew that returning to the city meant facing their families, and that wouldn't be easy. A week later, Marcus and Rachel arrived in Hong Kong, where Rachel's parents lived. Rachel had insisted they meet her family first, wanting to get the difficult conversation over with. The Morgan family mansion was even more impressive than Marcus's family home in Singapore. As they walked through the grand entrance, Marcus could feel the weight of expectation hanging in the air. Rachel's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, were waiting in the sitting room. When they saw Marcus enter with their daughter, their expressions shifted from curiosity to confusion. "Mom, Dad, this is Marcus," Rachel began, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "Marcus Chen." Recognition dawned on Mrs. Morgan's face, but not in the way Marcus expected. Her expression hardened with disapproval. "Marcus Chen," Mr. Morgan said, his tone dismissive. "Where exactly are you from, young man?" Rachel bristled. "Dad, you know exactly who he is. Don't pretend." "I'm asking him," Mr. Morgan interrupted sharply. "Let him speak for himself." Marcus straightened his shoulders. "I'm from Singapore, sir. My parents are David and Linda Chen." Mrs. Morgan waved her hand dismissively. "We've been doing some research since Rachel told us she met someone in that village. You're the one who's been playing at poverty, pretending to be someone you're not." "I wasn't pretending to be someone I'm not," Marcus said calmly. "I was trying to be myself without the weight of my family's name." "How noble," Mrs. Morgan said sarcastically. "But our daughter doesn't need someone who runs away from responsibility. We've told her repeatedly that she should meet the Chen heir properly, through the right channels." "I am the Chen heir," Marcus said firmly. "And I'm standing right here, choosing your daughter because I love her, not because our families arranged it." Mr. Morgan stood up, his voice cold. "Rachel, this is unacceptable. You need to marry someone appropriate, someone who understands the responsibilities that come with our family name. Not someone who plays dress-up as a poor person for entertainment." "I love him," Rachel said, her voice unwavering. "And I'm not going to let you bully him or me." Mrs. Morgan reached into her designer handbag and pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table toward Marcus. "Here. Take this money and disappear. Find yourself a nice simple girl and leave our daughter alone." Marcus stared at the envelope but didn't touch it. The insult stung, but he kept his composure. "I don't want your money. I love Rachel, and I'm not going anywhere." "You think you can give her what she needs?" Mrs. Morgan spat. "You're nothing but a boy playing at being poor. You have no idea what the real world is like." "I know more about the real world than you think," Marcus replied quietly. "And I know that your daughter is the most genuine, intelligent, compassionate person I've ever met. I don't care about family alliances or business deals. I care about Rachel." Mr. Morgan's face turned red with anger. "This is your last chance. Take the money and leave, or you'll regret it." Marcus stood his ground. "I'm not leaving. Rachel chose me, and I chose her." Mrs. Morgan stood up, her patience gone. "Then you're both making a terrible mistake. Come, Jonathan. Let's go. Maybe when our daughter comes to her senses, she'll call us." As her parents walked out, Rachel grabbed Marcus's hand, tears in her eyes but determination on her face. "I'm sorry about them." "Don't apologize," Marcus said, pulling her close. "We knew this wouldn't be easy." "So what now?" Rachel asked. Marcus pulled out his phone. "Now I call my parents. And then we tell the world that we've made our choice." The phone call with Marcus's parents went better than expected. David Chen listened to the entire story. How Marcus had met Rachel without knowing who she was, how they'd fallen in love, and how they'd discovered each other's true identities. "Son," David said after a long pause, "your mother and I always wanted you to meet Rachel Morgan. But we wanted you to marry her because you loved her, not because we arranged it. If you found love on your own terms, then we couldn't be happier." "Really?" Marcus asked, relief flooding through him. "Really?" his mother added, her voice warm. "We trust your judgment, Marcus. And we can't wait to meet Rachel properly." A few days later, Marcus and Rachel attended a charity gala in Singapore, one of the biggest social events of the year. It was the perfect opportunity to make their relationship public and show both families that they were serious. Marcus wore an elegant suit, and Rachel looked stunning in a designer gown. As they entered the grand ballroom together, Photographers' cameras flashed and whispers rippled through the crowd. Midway through the evening, the host made an announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored to have some very special guests tonight. Please welcome Marcus Chen, son of David Chen, CEO of Chen Technology, and his partner, Rachel Morgan, CEO of Morgan Tech Solutions." The applause was thunderous. The crowd had never seen Marcus and Rachel together publicly before, and the sight of two young tech heirs united was big news. As Marcus and Rachel took the stage, they could see the shock on Mr. and Mrs. Morgan's faces in the crowd. The Morgans had attended the gala, never expecting to see their daughter there with Marcus. After the applause died down, Marcus didn't waste any time. He led Rachel outside to a quiet terrace where they could talk privately. "I know the last few days have been crazy," Marcus said, taking both her hands. "But through all of it, one thing has become crystal clear to me. I love you, Rachel. I loved you as Lisa the accountant, and I love you as Rachel Morgan the CEO. I love every part of you." Rachel's eyes filled with happy tears. "I love you too, Marcus. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." "I know we both hid who we were," Marcus continued, "but maybe that was the universe's way of making sure we found each other for the right reasons. Not because our parents wanted us to meet, not because of business or family alliances, but because we genuinely fell in love." "It's perfect," Rachel agreed. "In the most ridiculous, roundabout way possible." Marcus laughed and pulled her close, kissing her deeply. When they pulled apart, they looked through the glass doors and saw both sets of parents watching them. The Morgans looked conflicted, still upset but beginning to soften. The Chens were smiling, clearly pleased with how things had turned out. "Do you think your parents will come around?" Marcus asked. "Eventually," Rachel said. "They'll realize they can't stay mad forever. Especially when they see how happy we are." She was right. Over the following weeks, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan slowly began to thaw. They couldn't deny that their daughter was happier than they'd ever seen her. And they couldn't argue with the fact that Marcus Chen was exactly who they'd wanted her to meet, just not in the way they'd planned. 6 months later, Marcus and Rachel stood hand in hand at their wedding, surrounded by friends, family, and loved ones. The ceremony was held at a beautiful resort overlooking the ocean. Elegant but not ostentatious, perfect for two people who valued authenticity over extravagance. Both sets of parents attended, finally reconciled to their children's choice. Kevin sent a congratulatory message from Ban Suk, where he'd stayed and was now dating a local teacher, someone who loved him for who he was. Even Mrs. Som Chai, Marcus's former landlady, made the trip to attend. As Marcus and Rachel exchanged vows, promising to love each other through all circumstances, they both reflected on the journey that had brought them together. They'd both run from arranged marriages, both hidden their true identities, and both learned that real love had nothing to do with wealth or status. "I never thought I'd find someone who understood me," Marcus whispered as they danced at their reception. "Me neither," Rachel replied, resting her head on his shoulder. "But I'm so glad we were both brave enough to look for it." Their story had taught them, and everyone watching, a valuable lesson. Never judge someone based on appearances or circumstances. Sometimes the most precious treasures are hidden in the most unexpected places. And sometimes, the person you're meant to be with is the one you find when you're not looking for anything except authenticity. As they kissed under the starlit sky, surrounded by the people who loved them, Marcus and Rachel knew that their adventure was just beginning. They'd found what they'd been searching for, not wealth, not status, not family approval, but something far more valuable. They'd found true love. And that was worth everything. The end. Thank you for following Marcus and Rachel's incredible journey to finding true love. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. What did you think of the ending? Were you surprised by the twist? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. And if this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear that true love exists beyond wealth and appearances. See you in the next story. Red Heart. ****.